I think, I mean, he's a businessman. He's a tech person. I tend to think that for him, personally as a figure, the class loyalty will trump the sort of pragmatic, considerations. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah,
That's my
no, you're
guess.
probably entirely right. It always
Um,
does. So
yep.
I should just open this can of worms. What are your thoughts on, I guess, his chances in Iowa, and I guess the controversy that just took place? Do you think that's actually going to hurt his prospects? I mean, as someone who works directly, I guess, in the media and journalism, were you astounded by this, or is it just the business as usual, that this is the narrative basically that's being pushed, rather than we're not talking about the Afghanistan papers, we're not talking about Yemen, like you just mentioned before, right? There's so many other things that we could talk about.
Yeah, I tend to think that the Warren Sanders conflict was bound to happen because it's a zero-sum game. One of them has to win Iowa, and that will basically determine down the line how viable they are, I think. So I'm not very surprised that it happened. It the sort of intensity of it did surprise me. I wasn't expecting it to be as ugly as this.
Hmm.
But I tend to think that this actually won't have that very much of an effect. I think that the effect in terms of how it's going to influence, voter opinions is just the opportunity cost to Sanders about not being able to talk about Joe Biden's record, because we're talking about this instead.
Yeah, which was
So I think that's the
astounding to me.
extent.
His is so much worse.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Name it: Wall Street, immigration, the wars,
If we're
finance.
talking about sexism, like smelling women
Right. Oh,
on a
yeah.
regular basis.
That's what I couldn't believe. It's yeah, we should hold everyone to account, but it's so, Sanders doesn't get the nomination, and it doesn't look like Warren is viable. So the only other person in the offing, unless the numbers change dramatically, is Biden. So I don't really understand what what the plan is here.
Yeah, that was really bizarre to me. So do you think then that Biden is going to have any kind of viable chance going forward? Because I know he's still the front runner, but it seems to me that I don't know what you think about his actual state of mind and what exactly is going on there, because it's unusual to me to see this, to watch what's happening in real time. Like, I've never seen a candidate who just doesn't seem like he wants to be there almost.
That's what was so amazing about the last debate is everyone's talking about Warren Sanders, but Biden had a shockingly bad performance, I thought.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not just in terms of not having good answers, but just kind of trailing off and seeming to forget what he was talking about, and just sort of looking like he was drowsy the entire time. It was very strange, and he really that's what I'm saying. The extent to which I think this Warren thing is going to hurt Sanders is not going to be people saying, well, I believe or didn't believe he said this, I'm not going to vote for him, or I will vote for him. It's just the fact that Biden gets a complete free pass on not just his record, but his performance in that debate, which I think any sensible person would look at and say, boy, is this guy up to it?
Yeah, absolutely astounding. Do you agree with the narrative that it's ageist to talk about? I know there's one side of the fence where people are saying this is elder abuse and things like that, right? But do you think at a certain point people should start to recognize maybe there are some shortcomings to his current state, right? Like whether it's the exploding eye or things of that nature.
Right. I would say you don't have to say the causality is necessarily age or senility or dementia, because he's always been saying dumb shit, frankly. But I would say does it matter so much if he's saying dumb shit? That's the main point, I think. Not the cause of it. And it seems very clear to me. I mean, it does seem like the gaffes have accelerated, and it's not just an aesthetic thing. You can't figure out what he thinks because he can't answer a question.
Yeah, absolutely.
In plain language. So.
Or when he's just given kind of carte blanche to say whatever he wants, he'll go on to these weird rambling anecdotes about having blonde leg hairs and children rubbing them. You're like, what are you talking about right now?
And that's what I'm saying. Is every minute that people aren't seeing that, every minute people aren't seeing that or hearing about his views on Social Security or Medicare, that's really going to hurt Sanders, I think, in Iowa and
yeah, absolutely. States. So everyone in my chat has been asking me for a while, who do you think Sanders' VP choice is going to be? Do you have any insights into that?
I don't. And, I actually know quite a lot of his staff, and either they're holding it very close to the chest or they don't know, because they seem as, intrigued by this question as the rest of us are.
Mm-hmm.
I think it will be a difficult choice. I tend to be of the view that if he picks someone closer to the center, he's asking to get impeached. So I think he's going to have to pick some. I would think, just from a strategic viewpoint, unless the Democrats suddenly start, to like him, which I don't see why that would happen. He's going to have to pick someone at least as far left as him or farther. And when you say that, who is there? I don't know who there is. He would have to pick somebody outside of the traditional sort of feeders for the Oval Office, the Senate, the
okay, see, you're giving an entirely different narrative to what I was saying, because I was trying to tell them historically, typically, I'd say the VP pick is often to kind of quash fears or calm them anyways that people might have, right? So in the instance of Barack Obama, you pick the oldest, whitest possible vice president, just to make people a little more comfortable with the idea of having a black president for the first time, right?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. But I think that Sanders is a very odd duck. In the sense of he's so much farther to the left of anyone that I think we've had at any point in modern history, at least in relation to where the political establishment is currently. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like you can go back to Lincoln and see him criticizing wage slavery, for instance. And so that's obviously farther left, but that was at a time when that was a view that was within the norms of the mainstream. So for today, he's so far to the left of the Democrats, and I think owes politically so little to them because they've tried to kneecap him in so many different ways that I think he has to be. Look at the UK and how often they were constantly trying to knife Corbyn with these
anti-Semitic smears.
They're trying to call votes to pick a new leader for Labour. You know, so I would imagine that something like that would happen to Sanders. Where you look at the lockstep support that the Republicans have for Trump in the investigation that's going on. I don't know that the Democrats are going to have that for Sanders. I don't know that there's that degree of discipline, the same degree of discipline within the Democratic Party. So I think that you're usually right, but I think this is a very unusual situation. Maybe I'm wrong. That's just my speculation.
Well, no, that would be refreshing if you pick someone like, say, Nina Turner, for example. Like, it would just come out of left field. I would be like, oh, yeah.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. And as far as I know, I know quite a lot of people in that campaign, and they don't seem to know either unless they're not telling me.
Yeah, no, I could see them not wanting to leak that either, right? I mean, it would be pretty presumptuous. Do you see someone like Andrew Yang, for example, endorsing Bernie Sanders? Because it seems like most people are going with like traditional candidates, for example, like Castro went right away for Elizabeth Warren.
I think what you will see, and the polling has borne this out. I try to avoid the punditry because there's so much of it. I'll try to stick to facts. The polling suggests, and this is important in Iowa because you have to get 15% support. They have a caucus. It's not an ordinary primary. So each candidate has to get 15% support within the caucus location, I think it is. And if they don't reach that 15%, then those people reconstitute and have to pick their second choice candidate. And if you look at Sanders, I think he's the top second choice candidate among people that support. He's a top second choice candidate for people that support Tulsi Gabbard and Andrew Yang. So I think you'll see a huge proportion of those votes go to him, and I really think that's the sleeper sort of feature of this caucus that is not being factored in, because Yang has quite a lot of support for a candidate with no political experience and is non-traditional as he is. I mean, he's pulling at like 5%. That's amazing for how little. He had no public image.
A virtually unknown name, like a year and a half ago.
Right.
Yeah, it's astounding.
So
and they're galvanized too. Like the Yang gang, they are they're very active in social media.
Oh yeah,
canvassing, all that kind of stuff. I think it would be very beneficial to Sanders' campaign, for example, to get Andrew Yang's team behind it.
I tend to think. I mean, he's a businessman. He's a tech person. I tend to think that for him, personally as a figure, the class loyalty will trump this sort of pragmatic, considerations. Maybe I'm wrong. That's my guess.
You're probably entirely right. It always does. So
yep.
It's a safe bet.
Yeah, but I mean, as long as he doesn't trash Sanders, it might not matter because his votes might still go to him. And that is the indication. That's the indication now, as far as we know from the polling data.
Yeah, I'd say the only thing that would be close in terms of their association might be the concept of UBI, right? Like that's something that I think, maybe Sanders would be open to talking about, even though his is a very different form of it, obviously.
Right. I think I would go as far as saying is fraudulent because he wants to get rid of a lot of these social programs that the same sorts of people that would benefit from $1,000 a month also benefit from or will as they get older.
From food stamps? From food?
Right. Yeah. Some people like these.
Here's $1,000, but by the way, you have to spend it on food now. It's like, okay, great.
Right. So, but the thing is, the support I think is pretty sincere. As aside from like, and it's a very interesting sort of experiment because you see this guy who you would think, I mean, Silicon Valley tech rich guy, you would think it would have the Mark Zuckerberg effect, where it's just kind of like you hold your note, you're like, ugh, get that away from me, But I think the clarity of his pitch, just $2,000 a month, $1,000 a month, like that shows, I think, how potent a clear appeal to people's sort of material interests can be when it's clearly articulated. Even when we talk about Medicare for all, I guess it's clearer than like single payer because it's these different options. It's clearer because it's like, oh, it's the same thing old people have, then we have it. So that's good. But think about if you could just say like, here's how much money on average or at median you're going to save each month. That's going to be as high as Yang's stupid thing, I would think. But no one ever pitches it that way.
Yeah. Well, it really speaks to like the class divide that's going on, right? Like, obviously, it resonates with people if someone's like, "Oh, would you like an extra $1,000?" Like, yes, that would really help out. Like, I don't need to know anything about your other policies, and they are kind of asinine and all over the place. But
exactly. Yeah, I think a lot of support is sincere, and I would draw a distinction between the supporters, at least the sort of discourse I've seen on the part of the supporters. I would draw a distinction between them and his own machinations when he's talking about these things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you enjoy what you just watched and now crave more nectar of the damned? Did you know that if you're watching on YouTube, you're only getting half the Serfy experience? We upload all of our content commercial and censorship free to our Patreon. Due to the general demonetization of our videos, we now upload half of our original content directly to those who can help us produce this show. Want even more nectar than that? Well, come join us at twitch.tv/TheSerfsTV, where we do weekly live streams, debates, interviews, AMAs, and more. If you're an Amazon Prime member, you can help support our show 100% free by subscribing to our Twitch channel. So come join us, be merry, and know that your support is helping us do great things. Like pay rent and eat. We would first and foremost like to thank our god, Nicholas Marks, we worship at your temple. We would like to thank our monarch, Elsie Hupp. Your generosity has made this entire thing possible. We would like to thank our lords, Ricky Pilgrim, I'm Raft, and Michaela Schmidt. You are the pillars of our organization. To our Knights of the Serf Table, Paul Parfit, Daniel Kahn, Fair Tahan, Clement Chutzkoff, Schizosaurus, Josh Mickelson, Dr. Zayas, Cooper Pilot, Andre Lynn Epperly, Dylan Bith, Terry, Todd Buckingham, Jed Lewis, Todd Lajeunesse.